words, test words, test words. Does everything work? I think everything should work, to be completely honest, but we'll have to find out in a couple of seconds. When YouTube decides to recognise that I have gone live, and is like, Joe, you're live. Wonderful. Which will be eventually. I'll find out when, but we'll see. Let's go over to the face cam in a moment, if I can. Give it a second. Why is everything broken? I don't know. But there we go. Hello, everybody. That zoomed in a little bit too close. And welcome to a very, very quick stream on a fun little situation that I hadn't quite realised was going to be as quick moving as it is. I was going to do something on it this morning, and then I got sort of dragged all over the place because it's been a very, very, very busy day. And then the story kept on evolving, so I thought I'd wait until as late as I can before work to do a very quick stream. I do not have that long at the minute because I got work in a few. But let's get into it. So, Dan James is potentially suffering from a little bit of an injury problem, which I think probably needs to be discussed and covered and talked about. And the sort of evolution that this story has gone through is a little bit, hello by the way, is a little bit fascinating to me. So I'm going to go through it step by step, establish where we are now, where Leeds United need to be to sort of resolve that issue, and ultimately what it could mean for the season ahead, depending on what's actually come to pass here. So, first off, we'll run through what the initial story was. So, earlier on today, in fact, I heard whispers of this yesterday. Hello there, Carol. But I heard whispers of this yesterday that Dan James had a very, very serious injury, and the wording that I had heard was that he'd done his ACL and it was season ending. However, as time has gone on, as sources have come in and as people have sort of had their say and spoken to sources and more reputable people have come in and been part of the conversation, we've hit the point where that isn't necessarily the case, because the rumoured ACL issue would have just ended Dan James's season. It would be a case of 9 months or so, maybe more, to keep him out, but that's no longer looking like that is necessarily the case, because it's now been viewed as significantly shorter. Adam Pope and Graham Smith both asked the club, okay, what exactly is the issue? We're hearing word of an injury, but we don't know how serious it is. Is it a season ender? Is it not? Weirdly, partway through the day, Wales had sort of selected him to be part of their national team for the next international break, which you look at that and you go, that doesn't make any sense. That is absolute chaos. I don't understand it. So time goes on and time goes on and time goes on, and you end up with what happened this afternoon, where the club had informed various different journalists and sources, including Graham Smith, Adam Pope, a couple of others, that the issue with Dan James wasn't quite that serious. It was an ankle injury rather than the ACL. Like, ACL is that in the ankle or is that in the knee? I think that's in the knee. And is one of the bits that goes between your bones and make sure they don't rub up against each other and cause problems. If you've got an issue with that, you can just be done for the season, whereas with an ankle, we don't know. The rumour now is that it's going to be 8 to 10 weeks, and it does show some of the potential worries that Leeds United have in those wide areas. So, specifically, you are looking at right-wing options at the moment, and you are seeing Brendan Aronson, cool. I genuinely think Brendan Aronson is looking quite good so far this season. A lot of people might disagree with that, but I think his off-the-ball stuff is some of the best that we've got in the side. Good in the press. He was very, very, very good in the match against, who did we play last? Bournemouth. And I think he was unlucky to not have an assist in that one. I think Calvert-Lewin should have taken it down a bit nicer, had a proper go, rather than that header that was just sort of loosely lobbed in the direction of Georgi Petrovic. So Aronson being there isn't a problem, but then you go beyond Aronson and you've got a big question mark, because that becomes, well, Jack Harrison can play there. And, well, Willy Gnonto can play there, but Willy Gnonto is also suffering from an injury right now, which isn't great. What this will mean in the immediate term, before Gnonto is back, it's rumoured that it might be sort of after this international break when we get Willy Gnonto back in. What the rumour is set to be on that one is that Harry Gray will potentially come into the squad for that place behind Brendan Aronson. I don't know whether or not that's a good idea or not, but we'll have to find out. And yeah, it's not too fun. We're not going to get complete confirmation on what the injury is or how long it's expected to last for a little bit of a while. That could be a case of waiting until Daniel Farke's next press conference, which is happening on Thursday. Be around lunchtime. I think I might be busy at that point, if I have a look. Yes, I've got an appointment with a doctor at 1:30, so that might be directly on when the press conference is. But I'll be keeping up with everything, catching up after the fact, and we'll find out what is going on with that entire thing, and I'll catch everyone up based on that. But I kind of want to know what you guys think. I can stick around on stream for about 10-15 minutes in total, but for me, this isn't the biggest worry that Leeds United are going to have this season. If it is 8 to 10 weeks, then that is a problem. That is about 2.5 months of an injury, and that is a very, very, very long time to lose a player for. But then again, it allows that Farker-style rotation where the reason that players get rotated out is because they will get a knock, and then someone gets rotated in, they retain their place until it's proven that the other guy deserves his spot back in, which makes a little bit of sense to me. It's not only going to be a case of 8 to 10 weeks is the time it will take for him to be back in team training, it will be a case of that is how long that it will take for him to be available to the squad and ready to start if needed. This is where I'm kind of annoyed that we didn't get a winger done in the summer. I'm not going to be part of that opinion that says, well, we should have kept Ramazani because A, Ramazani wasn't really viewed as a left winger, and B, Ramazani wasn't really going to start over Brendan Aronson. I don't think he was the right sort of profile for what we need on that right side right now, because to counteract Jayden Bogle's bogeliness is the way that I'm going to phrase it, you need someone that can do the more defensive, passive stuff, and I think that Aronson fits that kind of nicely, to be completely honest with you. The entire thing's a little bit complex, and I accept that this is a stream that is basically done on news that isn't necessarily news, because we don't have all the sort of details on it, but it's a weird one. We'll get the details as time goes on, we will discuss those as the time continues to go on, and we will hopefully end up in a place where it's just after the international break, Dan James is fine enough. Hopefully it's something precautional. I don't expect to see him against Spurs at the weekend, but then again, I wouldn't have expected him to start for a little while anyway, because I think Aronson has earned that spot in the squad now. On the left flank, I would keep Okafor in there. I think he's been very, very impressive, and beyond that, I don't think this hugely adjusts the way that we will play, doesn't adjust our shape, doesn't adjust anything like that. It's an unpleasant one, but it's one that we might just sort of have to sit through. This is going to have been a very short stream because I'm going to draw it to a close in a minute or two, but before I do so, I'm going to bop this one up. I'd massively appreciate if you could like, if you could comment, if you could subscribe if you're not yet, because YouTubers are currently under a lot of strain by the fact that YouTube is being a platform that sort of hates YouTubers at the minute. It's not recommending content to people, which means that various bits and bobs and videos and stuff that would normally do really well are just completely flopping, which is kind of a shame. This stream, I will be completely honest, didn't expect to do very well, but it's a case of there's a bit of news I got to talk about it between antenatal lesson and work in like 20 minutes. But everything's a very, very big squeeze, and it's a little bit of a struggle. So if you could like, if you could comment, if you could subscribe, that'd be absolutely wonderful. A micro stream indeed. We love micro things. Sometimes. Sorry, ignore that one. And in addition to that, if you wouldn't mind going to the Football Content Awards, under Best Premier League Podcast, you can vote the Leeds United View, and you can also vote the Leeds United View under Best Premier League Club Content Creator. That is Jer's channel and everyone associated with it, and if that does especially well, that would be genuinely fantastic. It would be like honestly wonderful to see someone in the space getting the recognition that they deserve, and I think Jer absolutely deserves all of that. So, with all that in mind, hopefully you guys go ahead and do that. That'd be spectacular. I'm going to leave the stream there because it's just going to be sort of video length one, and there's bits I need to experiment with in terms of streams and videos to try and keep up with the algorithm thing. But I'm going to leave that there. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please pop a like on it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Even become a channel member. It's $2.99 a month. You get a bunch of stuff early. That'd be fantastic. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. And now, the new ending screen. It's nice, isn't it? It's all blue. Lovely stuff. Doodaloo.